Welcome to the jungle. I'm your host, Andy Garza, President and CEO of Big Guerrilla Sales and Marketing Training. Here in the Jungle podcast for all the hungry entrepreneurs, you'll hear firsthand experiences from business owners of how they overcame challenges on their road to success. Every week, we'll have a different business owner from every walk of life. If you want to learn more about guerrilla marketing, visit bigguerrillamarketing.com. You can also connect with me on Facebook at Big Guerrilla Marketing. Welcome to this week's episode of The Jungle for Hungry Entrepreneurs. I'm your host, Andy Garza, and with me is my co-host, Allison Anna. Thanks for being here, Allison, once again. It's always a pleasure. This week, kind of want to go over some the excitement of spring, number one, and I'm sure everybody gets excited in springtime because the snow is over, the cold is over here, at least in the Midwest. And it's always good to see the flowers. And I always say April showers bring big dollars because small business is getting the full swing. And what excites me about spring is not what usually excites people. What excites me is I get to see, and I'm looking for anything new in the marketing realm with small businesses. Anybody come up with something innovative and different instead of the playbook that they've always done every winter, spring, summer, and fall. I look for the people who have come up with something different, usually in the guerrilla marketing realm, which is used 2/3 of all marketing has guerrilla marketing tactics in it. So I'm really in tune of what's happening there. Have you noticed anything in the springtime where something is brand new? Now, I gotta mention, this is kind of funny because guerrilla marketing, there's the dealerships, the car dealerships, some of the used car dealerships will actually have that 40-foot gorilla, and they put out, and that's actually technically guerrilla marketing in the sense. And oddly enough, when they do that, their sales go up 14% on average. So it is a guerrilla marketing tactic that works, but it's nothing new. It's just they pretty much do it every spring, whip out the 40-foot gorilla and put them in there, and it draws attention, and that's what it's all about.
Do you know the meaning behind that, or is that just like personification?
Yeah, it's a personification. It's just something huge, big, scary looking thing, just to grab attention. That's all they want to do is grab attention that something's happening there. And it's not even a sale. It's just usually it's just there just to put your eyes on their dealership.
Yeah.
But it's funny that it does actually contribute to sales increases.
Yeah.
But that's just one tactic, and that's kind of the give me tactic using a guerrilla in guerrilla marketing. So
that's like the I used to work at Liberty Mutual in the call center, and the Limu Emu. I would get in the call center angry calls to get the Limu off the TV.
Yeah.
But it was working for them in their marketing and their sales, so they kept using it. I mean, that's just.
Yeah, I always thought of that as a stretch because they had to actually combine the Liberty Mutual into Limu and then rhyme with emu, and it's not an attractive mascot at all.
Right.
But I guess however it works, in this case, you said it spurs on anger.
Right. I guess so. Well, it gets people talking too. Like, if you're looking at the commercial, man, that Liberty Mutual commercial is so annoying. Well, that's really not the way that you want it to go, but it got people talking about Liberty Mutual.
Yeah. And that's kind of like the bottom line. And it's the same thing with the guy that's screaming at the top of his lungs, mattresses or whatever, warehouse or something like that. That's really annoying. That almost to me is over the top. I actually turn the channel. I don't want to listen to what he's got. I don't care if he's giving away 100% off. I'm not going to listen to it because it's so annoying.
Right.
But if it works for him, so be it. That's just part of life. You're not going to like everything everybody puts out there.
Right.
But the springtime, it is exciting. Full swing business. They got all cylinders going. Hopefully they've gotten everything. Their goals are halfway there, being met, as we get into the halfway point of the year. but I like the marketing stuff. You know, the Super Bowl is what kind of kicks it off. It's not really springtime yet, but it's in February. But that's where they unleash a lot of the innovative stuff that they have. They're giving the very best they got. And it kind of kicks off the season, you know, and then springtime hits, and then everybody's bringing out everything they got, you know, and hopefully it's not just the same old cookie cutter stuff, the playbook that they've had for years, and they don't change it. They just, you know, have their spring sale, they have their, you know, Memorial Day sale that's always coming up. You know, there's different things that they've done every time. That I noticed, you know, some years back they started with, you know, Black Friday in, you know, the springtime, you know, that time they just kind of changed that up. But you know, if it works, it works, you know.
Yeah, so I think it may be good if we were able to give the viewers, you know, a few aspects of guerrilla marketing, and then go through those and maybe give some examples, because I know you have a lot of knowledge up there about guerrilla marketing that's just very surprising and helpful.
Yeah, you know, guerrilla marketing, I break it down in 5 components. The first component's mindset, a guerrilla marketing mindset. And basically that's the basis of all guerrilla marketing. Mindset, of course, what we're talking about is every aspect of your business should be a marketing opportunity. And it starts with, I was always trained when I managed some big flooring stores, that before I go in all the way into, you know, the store, I'm the first one there. Obviously, I open up and I stop right at the doorway and look around, look at every facet of my display showroom, and as people come in, everything, how my salespeople are dressed, how my warehouse people are dressed, how everything is displayed, just how my clerical team is presented. Everything is actually an opportunity to market. Whether you have, you know, matching polo shirts or something for the sales staff, or matching shirts for the warehouse guys. When somebody walks in that door, they should know where they're at, why they're there, and who's who, you know, immediately. And know that the name of your company is plastered all over the place, whether it's the rug that they come in on has your logo on it. Every, you know, uniforms, if that's appropriate in your business, logos on that. The way they're answering phones, every aspect of the business should be looked at in the mindset of a marketer. And then you move on to the components, the other 4 components. And the one is senses, emotions, anchors, and those are the 3 important ones. The senses are a real tricky one. Everybody uses sight and sound, obviously, you know, sight and sound of commercials, of radio, print, anything like that. Now that's the easy part. But the trick to guerrilla marketing is to actually see if you can add a 3rd sense. And that works on the brain, the limbic cortex of the brain. The amygdala is one of the 4 parts of the limbic cortex. It's responsible for managing emotions in your body, human emotions. And the trick is to... Now for a quick break to thank our sponsors: Awaken Marketing, Awaken New Possibilities, Griner Law Group, Small Business Showcase Magazine, celebrating the small business spirit, M&D Advertising, Creations Beyond Expectations, and Big Guerrilla Sales and Marketing Training, bringing out your inner guerrilla. The trick to guerrilla marketing is to actually see if you can add a 3rd sense. And that works on the brain, the limbic cortex of the brain. The amygdala is one of the 4 parts of the limbic cortex. It's responsible for managing emotions in your body, human emotions. And the trick is to pierce into that segment of management, and it enhances the ability for your brain to remember. And if you do it right, and you attach your name to the anchor or the senses or the emotion, it solidifies how your brain remembers it, and it pierces through everything. For instance, I use my training company is called Big Guerrilla Sales and Marketing Training. And I have a mascot, little gorilla. I have my cards are very simplified cards. And it has my logo of a gorilla and my name of the company. And then when I do a seminar, I pass out my business cards to everybody. And it has a little bit of fur on the back of the card. And I always announce to get a little bit of a laugh. I say, hey, this is genuine faux gorilla fur. And people get a little laugh out of that. And they start feeling it. You can tell everybody feels it. So the sense of touch is what I added. And I always guarantee after that moment, I said, I'll make one guarantee in this class that you'll never forget the name of my company. You can't. It's impossible. I pierced through a third sense beyond sight and sound. I pierced through the sense of touch. Now that is an odd thing to use for a guerrilla marketing company, training company, but it worked. And I've had people 5 years after I did that that said, yeah, you're right. Yeah, I bump into them at a store or something like that. I said, I always remember that I've never forgotten the name of your company.
Yeah, I have another example, Andy. And maybe actually I'll ask you if this is a correct example or they use all three. When you were talking about the senses, I immediately thought of smell, and I'm always focused on how you can achieve this digitally because I do digital marketing. And so Febreze comes up. The Febreze commercials, they obviously use sight and sound because they're, it's a commercial. They use great visuals of how oh no, I'm confusing the two. So they use sight and sound, and then smell. So when I think of Febreze, I always think of the commercials when they go,
yeah,
and you imagine smelling the Febreze, right? And they usually do that big sniff right before they go into saying their Febreze and whatever the scent is that they're advertising. So that's a sneaky way of getting that smell. And a lot of commercials do that with the senses. Like McDonald's is one of the biggest ones I can think of when they or the pop commercials at the movie theaters. They are stimulating your taste sense by making the picture so vivid that you're imagining that you're eating this Big Mac or drinking this big large size Coke at the movie theaters.
That's absolutely right. That's exactly what they're doing. They're without actually having to smell it, they're working on the part of the brain that remembers the smell of things. So when somebody else is taking a deep breath or like you said, the vivid image of popcorn or anything like, you just remember it and it works on your, that's called moving into an anchor. You've been anchored ever since day one, the first time you had popcorn at a movie.
Yep.
I can almost remember exactly where I was when I saw my first movie at a theater. It was a Disney movie. I think it was Jungle Book or something when I was a little kid.
Yep.
And having popcorn for the first time, and I remember it like it was yesterday, and that was 55 years ago.
Yep.
So, anyways, that's exactly what they're doing. They're actually appealing to your senses without actually using your senses. They're using the anchor of your brain's sense.
Sure.
Now, another example of that is the taste test for Coke and Pepsi, that whole thing back in the 80s or 90s, where they had a taste test. So you're seeing two people taste testing and Pepsi won, that type of thing.
Mm-hmm.
Well, it was brilliant because no one in the audience actually tasted anything, but they believed that the taste test was real and authentic, and it was a huge marketing tool that they used, but they appealed to the senses without actually using the senses. They appealed to the anchor of the senses.
Yeah, and you can also do this through storytelling. So if you're thinking about how you can portray this digitally, you can do it through copywriting with very brilliant storytelling that really gets down, you use words and visuals in your storytelling to really paint a picture. And this is what great writers do all the time in books, but you can stimulate the senses through writing and really just getting to the core of people's emotions too, on the emotional side.
That's an excellent point because you're right. There are brilliant writers and you don't even know that they're doing it, but they're painting such a picture, a vivid picture in your head, and that they're using your brain to get their point across, and it sticks to you.
Mm-hmm.
It's an excellent way of using guerrilla marketing tactics of stimulating the emotions in one way or the other. The one I like to point out, and I do this when I do my seminars, is the Super Bowl commercial that Budweiser did a few years back, and it was so powerful. It was using an anchor to stimulate emotion, and it was the one where they had all the Clydesdales coming in, pulling the stagecoach or whatever they were pulling into Central Park and stopping at the view where the Twin Towers were supposed to be or used to be. And the horses all in unison bowed their heads. And the only thing it said, there wasn't a word spoken in the whole commercial. At the end, all it said, the words, "We'll never forget." And then Budweiser. So the anchor obviously was 9/11 that everybody has. Anybody that's grown up that remembers 20 years ago when that happened, you remember how you felt, and that was the anchor that they tapped into, and it was paying tribute, which is touching in itself, but then it attached their name to it at the end, like Budweiser is paying tribute, so you get a good feeling and a feeling of pride, all these emotions coming out. Different emotions, and attached the Budweiser name to a tribute to 9/11. So it was very powerful, and you don't forget that kind of stuff when it touches into an anchor emotion that you have deep in your mind. It's a guerrilla marketing tactic, but it was used in such a way that it was so effective. And I always point that one out because that's, to me, is the ultimate guerrilla marketing. Not one word spoken, just a few words that appear without being spoken at the end.
And that's something that brings people together too. And I think that's a big thing in guerrilla marketing is when you're playing on emotions and anchors in people, there's many people that successfully play on fear-based anchors, but it's not my preferred way to market, and it shouldn't be anyone's, really, is my personal opinion. Although it does work, it does drive sales, but that's one that they did it in a way that made people feel good about who we are as a country, because we can stand together no matter what kind of thing, catastrophic things happen. So there's lots of other ways you can do that without serious events or with serious events, but anchors that bring people together or make them feel good, in my opinion, are the best ones, because then you get a good feeling about that brand. You don't get any kind of fear-based feeling.
Yeah, real good point there. The three emotions that are managed most, and they have to do with marketing, I said the amygdala of the limbic cortex manages is happiness, sadness, and frustration. And then the fourth one, a little farther down the scale, is fear. You've seen the sadness ones. I don't really recommend sadness. It's very difficult to pull off, but the one that comes to mind obviously is the one that shows all the poor dogs outside shivering, and it's for animal care nonprofit, I believe, that puts on this commercial. I've done it for years, and they had the real sad music, Sarah McLachlan song that makes everybody really sad, and the whole thing is to get you to donate the $19 a month, whatever it is. Mm-hmm. That's very unusual that a sadness, obviously it works for them because they've been doing it for years and years, the same commercial. But happiness is always a good one, like Allison just pointed out, that when you feel good about something, it goes a long way in remembering what made you feel good, what company made you feel good. The other thing is frustration. You've seen those, they're all over the place. Some are so badly done and so over the top that it doesn't really do much to enhance their remembrance of their company. It's the ones that they show somebody, fumbling as if they're, have two left hands and they can't install something, but this new product, all it does is stick on the wall and you got it. You've seen a lot of different variations of that. It's usually around Christmas time where they're trying to get you to order a product. that will solve all your problems and whatever that product is. But that's used. Frustration is used quite often. Your product or service usually is you want to show how it solves a problem of what you have. A lot of people don't know they had a problem until they've seen your product and see what it does. But that's the whole object of marketing that way, using frustration of the current situation you're in or current product you're using. And then obviously they're there to solve your problem with their new product or service.
I do think it's good to call out pain points too, and to speak to them, because that's like the beginning of our process when we get to know our ideal clients, or your ideal client as a business. You have to understand their pain points so that you can speak to them. And you don't have to speak to them in a way that is so deeply hammering on their biggest flaws in themselves and their business. You know, you don't have to make them feel bad about it, but it is something that you should shed light on to get people thinking, oh yeah, I do have this problem. Like Andy said, many people don't until you speak about it. And that's part of that storytelling too, especially in what we do for digital marketing, you know, and even in video and commercials. You tell that story to them, and you really just, what I like to say is, you think about if you were in their shoes, or maybe you used to be that person, right? So I help people solve problems, you know, for where I used to be. So when I started my business, I had no clue how to market. I had no clue how to get leads digitally. And I learned all of that along the way. And now I'm teaching other people and coaching other businesses and doing it for them. So I was that person. Not every business is that way, but if you do have that experience, then you can get right into the position of where you were, or if you've ever had the problem that your ideal client has. If not, it takes some imagining to, you know, get into their shoes. And that's the basis of all of this, is, you know, understanding what emotions you need to appeal to and how you can solve their problem. That's the big part that makes the marketing good, is if you can nail those pain points, and you can also make them feel good with your solution and deliver the solution.
Yeah, excellent point. All these years of studying guerrilla marketing, what attracted me at first to guerrilla marketing was the fact that it was different. I always liked something that would stand out. You know, you see the same type of marketing tactics everywhere. It's almost cookie cutter that retailers would use. Almost every type of business use the same type of, you know, they're all excellent in service, you know, which means nothing anymore. But they all say that. So I always look for something that's different. It doesn't have to be shocking. Now, some guerrilla marketing stuff, some have been really innovative, and it was almost shocking to see. I like the more subtle ones, because it still achieves the same thing that you want it to achieve, is for your brain to remember it, or remember where they were when they saw this. One was that I saw was going inside a bar. The handles of the double doors were actually big beer mugs that looked like they were real, and that's how you opened the door. I thought that was kind of cool. So you know you're at a place when you're opening up the door with a beer mug.
About it.
Yeah. So it's like, and it looks so real. You know, it had the foam and, you know, the ice looking on the side, and it was a cool handle. It was custom made handles for the doors. I always thought that was kind of cool. But that's a tactic to use to have your brain remember where you were. And if you remember nothing else, you'll remember the beer mugs and say, "Oh, where was that place that we had a, you know, nice, you know, couple drinks?" And you'll remember that. So it's stuff like that that I look for in the springtime, to see if there's anything out there that's innovative, and using the tactics of, you know, igniting emotions and senses and anchors and even dimensions, which are basically personification, you know, using mascots. And my favorite one of that is always the M&M ones, where they actually personified the M&Ms. They made little characters that were funny and memorable. You see them at all the theaters. They were in that commercial at theaters a lot. because they want you to buy their M&Ms at $10 a bag.
Right.
So,
I think they do it because they don't taste the greatest.
Yeah.
So I gotta make them.
yeah. So well, that's what I look for. Anyways, this was fun. I like talking about guerrilla marketing all the time. There's so much more we could go on for an hour or two to all the different tactics and all the examples that we have used. So, but anyways, that's all we have for today. And thank you for tuning in, and we'll see you next week. If you want to learn more about guerrilla marketing, visit bigguerrillamarketing.com. You can also connect with me on Facebook at Big Guerrilla Marketing. To thank our sponsors, Awaken Marketing, Awaken New Possibilities, Griner Law Group, Small Business Showcase Magazine, celebrating the small business spirit, M&D Advertising, Creations Beyond Expectations, and Big Guerrilla Sales and Marketing Training, bringing out your inner guerrilla.